In the beautiful Garden of Eden, where everything was perfect, lived a man named Adam. He was the first man that God had created, and he had the important job of taking care of the garden and all the animals in it. Adam had a heart full of joy and curiosity, and he enjoyed exploring the wonders of God's creation. But there was something missing. Adam was alone in the garden. He longed for a companion, someone to share his adventures and his love for the animals. God saw Adam's longing and decided to create a special partner just for him. One day, while Adam was sleeping, God gently took one of Adam's ribs and formed it into a woman. When Adam woke up, he couldn't believe his eyes. Standing before him was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. Eve, his perfect match. Adam and Eve were overjoyed to have each other. They became the very first married couple, and their love for one another was deep and pure. They explored the garden hand in hand, marveling at the beauty around them and sharing laughter and stories. In the garden, God had given Adam and Eve everything they needed. They had an abundance of delicious fruits and a peaceful existence. But there was one rule they had to follow. They were not to eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. One day, while exploring near the tree, a cunning serpent slithered up to Eve and started talking to her. The serpent convinced Eve that eating the forbidden fruit would make her wise like God. Eve was tempted and she took a bite, and then she offered it to Adam. As soon as they ate the fruit, something changed. Adam and Eve suddenly felt ashamed and realized they were naked. They quickly covered themselves with leaves and hid from God's presence. When God came to the garden and called for Adam and Eve, they were afraid and tried to hide their mistake. But God, who is loving and merciful, knew what had happened. He gently confronted them about their disobedience and the consequences that would follow. God explained that because they had disobeyed him, the perfect world they once lived in would be affected. There would be pain and struggle, and they would have to work hard for their food. But even in their disobedience, God showed his love by promising to send a Saviour who would one day redeem them and all of humanity. Despite their mistake, God did not abandon Adam and Eve. He clothed them with garments made from animal skins, symbolizing his love and care for them. They had to leave the garden, but God promised to be with them always. Adam and Eve learned a valuable lesson about the importance of listening to God's guidance and trusting in his wisdom. They understood the consequences of their actions, but they also experienced God's grace and his never-ending love. As the story of Adam and Eve comes to an end, we remember that even when we make mistakes, God is always there for us. Just like Adam and Eve, we can find forgiveness and restoration through God's grace. We can learn from their experience and strive to obey God's commands, knowing that he loves us unconditionally and guides us on our journey through life. And so, dear children, as you close your eyes and drift off to sleep, May the story of Adam and Eve remind you of God's unwavering love, His forgiveness, and His desire for us to live in harmony with Him. Rest peacefully, knowing that no matter what happens, God is always there to guide and protect you. Good night, little ones, and may your dreams be filled with the assurance of God's everlasting love. God bless you.